Ask you, why do they call it Nob End?
Oh, don't go there.
What is up, guys? It's too much, isn't it? It's just far too much. It's too early in the morning. It's actually about 9 o'clock, and I'm about to set off to a curtain factory in Bolton because Naeem from Trend Furnishings got in touch with me and he said, would you like some new curtains? And I looked at my curtains and I just thought, yeah. And look at the state of that. That's when I tried to sew it back together. The fabric's just so old now. I think they're probably about 40 years old, same age as the boat. I'm going to take, not my boat, because the canal, which I'm also going to explore via my handy guide here, the Manchester Bolton and Bury canal. Going to see a little bit of what it might be like near the centre if we can find any of the remains. And yeah, because it's mostly unnavigable, I'm going to take my pickup and traverse the highest motorway in England, the M62. Hit it. Hit the road. This is the M62. It links Leeds and Hull, and it also connects to other towns and cities such as Bradford and Wakefield. It's 107 miles long and it's quite high up. I can't remember. I've only regurgitated some of what I remembered from Wikipedia that I just read this morning. It's this many feet high at its highest point at the summit. There's not a lot up here, but it's bloody beautiful. I love it. It's one of the most picturesque motorways in the country. Right, that's enough of the motorway footage. This is Naeem of Trend Furnishings, a company that's based within this former cotton mill complex. This is, when it was first built in the early 1900s, this was the largest one in the world. This mill was actually featured on TV as part of a documentary about Fred Dibnah. If you don't know who Fred is, he's basically an absolute legend in this country. He was into steam engines, he was a steeplejack, and just a larger-than-life character. It just had a brilliant sense of humour and liked to drink. So my plan for this vlog is to later on find his pub of the week in Bolton. Back in the factory, we've got Naeem showing me around. He's showing me the machinery, everything to do with how we're going to put these curtains together to help me choose the right fabric, because what I need is something that's going to be warm in winter and block out the sunlight and the heat in summer. So we're looking at these plush curtains, sort of a velvety feel to them. This is the lining, so I've got to choose the lining as well. They're only white and beige. And then this is how you actually measure the curtain. So you go from just below the bar right down to the bottom of, well, just beyond the bottom of the window where you want the curtain to hang. And then you measure the track, which is the bar width, so going across the window. And those measurements then go to the company that's making your curtains, for example Trend Furnishings. This video is not sponsored at all, it's just that I've got some free curtains. I'm absolutely buzzing about it, and I'm just taking you through the process. Here we go, measurements are all done, and that just has to go back to Naeem and his team so he can create some magic. But what about the colours, I hear you ask? Well, yeah, it's really difficult. There's so many nice colours available. Not all of them are going to suit my needs, and I wanted something really happy and bright, nothing too dark and dingy. Just looking at a few of the options that I've got here, and it's clear to me the one that Naeem wants me to pick, because it's the biggest swatch that he's cut out. Look. He clearly wants me to go for that one. Now let's have a look at a finished piece of curtain. This is it, and Naeem's just running me through what the lining looks like when it's all stitched together. But whereas the lining is standard, it's pretty much the same colour all round, the colours of the actual curtains is what I need to choose. So I left the gang to it and headed off across Bolton to another location to try and see if I could find some remnants of the Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal. The Manchester, Bolton and Bury Canal, now derelict, was 15 miles long. It had 17 locks and was built between 1791 and 1808. The section that we're looking down on is a junction with the right hand side going off into Bolton and the left going to Salford in Manchester, where it linked up with the River Irwell, which connects to the Manchester Ship Canal. The area that we are flying up from, i.e. behind us, leads to Bury. Sorry, Bury is how you pronounce it. But the area I'm in right now I'm quite interested in, because yeah, I've seen it on the map and I have had a little bit of a giggle. Ask you, why do they call it Nob End?
Oh, don't go there. All the jokes have already been done. They've probably done it on purpose.
Well, we have to get to the bottom of this, don't we? Nob End. It's now a nature reserve based on what was a waste tip for toxic alkaline waste from the manufacture of soda crystals. That's a cleaning product that I actually use to clean the drains on my sink. Sometimes with hot water, sometimes for a bit of fun with a bit of vinegar. But anyway, back to the mystery of why this place is known as Nob End. Well, have you heard the word promontory? It means an area of land that sticks out or juts out into the surrounding area. And there's a secondary meaning, which is a bodily part that protrudes. And so as I film myself walking around the area feeling like a right knob end, I at least have to applaud the silly buggers that came up with the name. They got it spot on. And a little look at the history on this sign. This is probably the best way to find out about an area, not just relying on Wikipedia. And just physically being in this place, gazing down the locks, trying to wonder what it looked like before it was derelict. And as a special treat, up in the air from the drone, we can see this aqueduct. This is Prestoley Aqueduct with 4 arches built in 1793 across the River Irwell. I wanted to stay a little bit longer and really have a nice walk along the canals, because it is, I can recommend it as a great place to explore. But I had other things to do, not shopping in this shopping centre, but no, in each one of my videos I like to feature a pub of the week. And this time I'm thinking, well, which one would Fred Dibnah have favoured? This is Pub of the Week, Bolton. It's the 4th oldest pub in the country, apparently. And I could right imagine Fred popping in here for a nice pint of brown ale. Let's have a little look inside. There's so much going on here in terms of history, and some characters in the bar as well that I got talking to. Look at this, we've got all sorts going on there. There's one called Flat Cap, which I tried, of course, and it was a good pint, I've got to say that. They also serve all the usual bar snacks, including these lovely meat pasties. Cool, look at that. It's great here for visitors because you could just walk around and just learn about all sorts of history, English medieval history going right back, the Civil War and all this sort of stuff. And you'll see some artefacts, like these pewter mugs that are some of the oldest that are surviving. And this old piece of timber, which according to one of the locals is from a ship that had been dismantled. One that would have been built in the 1700s.
This is built for exercise, isn't it?
But in a pub this old, what are the toilets like? Tell you what, this is definitely not the oldest part of the pub because it's Lovely, lovely and new. And it's the petty or potty toilet. I prefer to go alone though, most times. Thanks. That's the Earl of Derby.
That's when we executed in like the Civil War.
And before I lost my own head, I put down my pint glass and headed out to explore the town of Bolton further. That was pub of the week. A little gem in the middle of Bolton. This place deserves a mention if you like your craft beers and your pizza. And there's one more site that I wanted to check off before leaving this town. Just by the statue of Fred Dibnah. Apparently, according to the bloke I was talking to in the pub, who had worked for him, he was a real character. Liked to drink and also didn't like to pay too much because the bloke was saying he did some work for him on a steam engine, pressure testing in it. And yeah, never actually got paid, but was a great character according to the bloke I met. He looks it. Right, I'm actually editing the video now, but here we are, grand reveal of the curtains. Oh, you can see a little bit up there. I went for mustard. That's right, guys, mustard in the main living area. They look quite smart. Went for the same colour as I went before for the door curtain. That's really nice and thick, actually, thicker than the last one. The only thing I've got to watch out is coal dust getting on it. And then if we go through to the kitchen, I've gone for olive here. I just wanted a different colour in each area, really. Nice thick curtains, these. I could have got them a little bit longer, do you see? I could have probably measured them a bit better, but I'm happy. Oh, just looking back, I mean, love it, just love it. Right. And then no curtains in the bathroom. What about in the bedroom? Well, guess what? I've gone for burnt orange. Doesn't quite show up in the light there very well. It's really hard filming curtains. Wouldn't have thought. Oh, look at that. Look at the way it pops out against that blue. I thought that was going to be a really nice colour. And oranges, yellows are happy colours, so that's what I want. Happy colours only, please. But yeah, man, look at that. I'm all happy. Not with the rain though, that can go away. Being inducted to the Crankit crew this time, we've got the following amazingly talented and gorgeous people. We've got Isabel and Rob Drake, we've got Diane and Matthew Barnes, we have Adam Goswell, all as producers, and then we have Stephen Kellett, Marjorie Sullivan, Colin Strachan, and Richard and Tracy. Thank you all so much for supporting me and my videos through Patreon. I can't do them without you. Cheers, guys. And now let's have a look at what's coming up in my next video.